welcome to For the Birds with Richard Cole. It's good to have you back in the studio, Richard.
And it's good to be here in the studio.
Yeah, great. One of the times that Richard, who is now partially retired, he's always traveling, but today he could make it into the studio, and we are so glad because we've got a big show today.
Yes, we do.
Tell us about some of the topics, but I do want to remind everybody, please let us know where you're watching from. Interact with us. Share this out with any birding friends of yours. We are so happy that you're here, and we really want it to be interactive. We want you to ask your questions and make your comments. But tell us about what's on the show.
Quickly, we're going to talk about false spring and fall slowdown. Similar kind of things that have to do with birds' behavior in this time of year. And we're going to talk about cleaning out birdhouses. We mention this every fall. It's time. They're through with them. Get them ready for the roost in the wintertime.
Just go ahead and do it. Nobody likes that sort of thing, but you just got to do it.
And the hummingbirds, they're out of the northern U.S. and most of the U.S. down in Central America. Maybe not all of them are gone. So you have to keep your eyes open. And drunk birds. I like drunk birds and flamingos. We got two subjects I like: drunk birds and flamingos. We'll be talking about that toward the end of the show.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, you got to stick around for that one. Yeah. And how to get birds out of your house.
Oh, that was one of the, yeah.
They get in your garage sometimes, the hummingbirds do, and wrens and things will get into, you come in your back door and you're stuck in your house. How to get them out, we'll have some hints for that.
Yeah, so we've got a full show for you. We also really want to encourage you to ask your questions. Richard is such a source of knowledge about wild birds, so please ask your questions. But we're going to go ahead and let's get started talking about that false spring. So we're hearing the birds think it's springtime right now,
yes,
right?
The birds key in on the amount of daylight available, how long the sun is up, and that gives them a sense of what season it is. And there's the same amount of sunlight, day and night, at 2 times of the year, spring and fall. So when they sense this, they think it's springtime, or they get that feeling that, it's time to start chirping and setting up a territory so that they can get ready for the nesting season. And that may last for 2 or 3 weeks off and on. It's not as heavy as it is in the springtime. They finally get the hint that it's not going the way it should be, and they quit it. But you'll hear the birds singing just like it's springtime for a while. The other thing that bird behavior changes in the seasons is during the fall, is what I call fall slowdown. When I first got into the bird feeding business, it was I thought something was wrong the first couple of years. I really went into it heavy. It's like I would have all the seed and they would be eating like crazy, and then all of a sudden they just quit eating, and I'm thinking there's something wrong with the seed. The feed, they don't like the feeders, they don't like me. But no, it wasn't that at all. It's just that as we get into the fall, the birds have a lot to eat. It's like nature provides for them. There's so many more spiders and insects and berries and stuff to eat. They just don't need to come to the feeders. They've got plenty to eat in the fall. So don't be discouraged if all of a sudden you don't see birds at your feeders. It's going to be a while. Once it gets colder and the food supplies start to get a little harder to find, they'll be glad to come back to your feeders. So
that's right.
Just be patient.
But you're right about the spiders. We go walking on the trail every weekend. We take our dogs, and just huge webs all the way across, and big, delicious spiders.
Tasty.
Delicious to the birds.
Yeah.
I've never tried one, to be honest. But yeah, they're everywhere. So
they are.
Who wouldn't?
Lots of natural food available this time of year. So just be patient. They'll come back to your feeder as soon as they need it. Yeah. That's also a good thing to remember, that these guys aren't just dependent on your feeders. They're out there eating all the natural foods.
Right.
Your feeder's nice for them to have as a backup. So keep it loaded during the wintertime.
Yeah.
And what's next?
Let's talk about the hummer migration. You want to?
Yeah, we're on the back side of hummingbirds. Most of the hummingbirds are out of the United States and down into Central America, as they should be, most of them. And they'll be coming back in really very late February down on the coast, and into March, April, and May up into the northern states. But not all of them go down to Central America. Quite a few,
actually stay.
Not hordes, but quite a few migrate within the United States.
Yeah, and we want to show you a great feeder to be able to watch those who stay. But first, explain this map a little. It's not current. This is about maybe 3 weeks ago what would have happened. But what can you tell us? What are we seeing?
Well, you're looking at a lot of hummingbirds on the eastern part of the United States, mostly one species, the ruby-throated hummingbird, coming from Canada, and actually in some cases much further north than that, and then moving down through the United States, down to Florida, down to the Gulf Coast, down to Mexico, and into Central America. And they're pretty widespread. So you're going to see a lot of birds in the fall time as they move south and try to fatten up on the way, whereas in the springtime coming in, same routes basically, you won't see them as much because if you're in the south part of the United States, they're in a hurry to get to their breeding grounds, claim their territory, and get busy. And the males come in first, males migrate out first. The females come in second, etc.
Why does that happen?
I guess it's the males come in and set up their territory and wait for the females.
Yeah, okay.
That's it. And the males don't have anything to do with raising young. Of course, the females don't either in the case of the hummingbirds.
They don't?
No, once the babies are out, that's pretty much it. They may hang around just a little bit, but it's not. There's no parental love there. They're on their own. And fascinatingly, the little hummingbirds know exactly what to do and where to go.
Wow.
They pretty much know where they're supposed to go to when it comes fall time. They'll head to wherever they are supposed to.
I do want to show, too, in case you're interested, to keep your feeders out for the winter because some hummers just stay around, right?
They do. We've started learning this 20 or 30 years ago with research and stuff, and we started finding birds here in the southeast. And they weren't the ruby throat here in the southeast. They were western species of birds. Well, so what's wrong with this picture, right? But a lot of the rufous will come from the western U.S. and migrate to the eastern U.S., especially the southeastern United States.
Yeah.
So we started seeing more and more of them in Georgia and start catching them in, the snow on the ground. I see a rufous hummingbird at a feeder.
Yeah.
And it's fine, and they live. We know this because they've been trapped, banded, or tagged. And so the next year the bird shows up, you pull it in the same bird. Okay, so you see this bird 3 or 4 years in a row. It's like, well, this is what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Instead of being in Central America, it's in the southeastern United States.
Yeah.
We hear some reports of them being as far north as New York during the wintertime. We don't know the survivability of them as well, but we know they live well in the southeast.
Yeah.
So other species too. There's now, in Georgia, instead of just one species, we have 13 species of hummingbirds that's been captured and tagged in the southern United States and Georgia.
Wow.
Almost all the species native to the United States.
Now let's go back to the shot of the feeder for a minute because I do want Richard to make another point about this feeder. A couple of great things about having it out during the cold months, right? You don't have to change it out as often.
Not near as often because the sugar water, we recommend that you don't use the ones with preservatives and all in it. This one has coals, hummingbird feed in it. But once the weather's cooled down, you're not having these 80 and 90 degree days in the sunlight, it's going to be fine for a long period. You just have to look at it every now and then. If it's not cloudy, it's okay. Once it loses that little crystal clear sheen to it, you just need to change it. But it'll last a lot longer out there in the cool season. Another good thing about this feeder, if it's out there and it freezes, first of all, sugar water will not freeze at 32 degrees. It starts getting slushy around 27.
Yeah.
And it won't freeze solid until probably around 20 or less.
Those are all great reasons just to keep
And
it out.
and if it does, this feeder won't break.
Yeah.
Because it's not a tube, it's not glass.
Yeah.
This stuff will just freeze and it'll thaw out. It'll be fine. So keep one out all winter and keep your eye on it. And you see a bird, call your local bird store or somebody in Audubon or anybody you can touch base with and say, I've got a hummingbird and it's December.
Yeah.
Don't call in November because there's still some birds moving through.
Right.
But yeah, if it's December or January and you see a bird at one of your feeders that you put out, let somebody know. And they'll come and identify what species it's in, and there might be more interest in it.
How many will you see? I know you keep them out, and that's one thing is the birds know who keeps the feeders out, and they come back. But how many will you see in the winter? Maybe one a day?
You may not see any. I mean, in general, you're not going to see one because they're not like birds everywhere.
Right.
You might call them rare, but they're around. You may see one year and not see another one for 5 years.
Wow.
You may see one every year or so for a long period of time. We see this in certain areas, and we know by trapping and banding them that these are probably the relatives of the ones that were there. And we know the fact that, hey, it shows up to the same feeder a year later, and it's not the same bird.
Yeah.
You can speculate that that's an offspring of the ones that were there.
Right.
And we see this, and we see some places that continue to have them over the years, some places do not. I've had probably 4 in 18 years.
Wow.
2 of them at one time.
Yeah.
At 1 year, and then skipped a few years. Then we saw another one, and later we saw another one.
Yeah.
Haven't seen one in 3 or 4 years. But somebody close by may see one.
That's right.
So that's why
Yeah.
everybody needs to keep a feeder out and just keep your eye open.
Yeah. Great advice. So we do want to encourage you, if you're watching us right now, just say hi in the comments. Let us know where you live, where you're watching from. And also, if you have a question about birds, be sure to ask your questions. So now let's move on to flamingos. What in the world is going on, Richard?
Oh, these are not drunk flamingos.
No, we'll talk about the drunken birds later. But you might think they are because they're being spotted in places you
Ohio.
would never expect.
Ohio.
Right.
Of all places.
Ohio
Pennsylvania.
and Michigan. And Pennsylvania too, huh?
Yeah, so maybe they
Wow.
were drinking a little bit. Now, this is attributed, this recent
To the
sighting of these
hurricane.
birds in places.
Yeah.
It was, what was it, Cecilia? Or
Adelia.
Adelia.
Yeah.
and it came in from the Gulf into Florida. So as it enters this area and across Florida and out toward the islands out there where the flamingos are, you get the northerly side of that hurricane. So that was it. If they went out and I could see one of them saying, "Hey, honey, I'll be back. I'm going to go get some clams. I'll be back in a few minutes," and he catches the east side of the hurricane, and he's gone. He doesn't come back. So we don't know what's going to happen to him. I suspect that most of those birds that ended up there, and there's not a lot of them, most of them will be fine. Some of them may not, but they're pretty good. They know how to get by. They'll probably know where they are and move south.
And I heard too that people are so excited to see them, and in some cases they're close to a state line, and people are literally trying to get them over into the other state and be like, "Oh, flamingos for the first time in our state."
Yeah,
you know?
there's a lot of people who are listers, that we call them. They want to get the bird on their list that says, "I've got this bird in this state," and it's quite a sport. It's quite an activity. So somebody is in Georgia and is looking 100 yards away, and there's a flamingo that's never been in Georgia.
Right.
Flamingos have been in Georgia, but you want to maybe shoo it over and say, "Yeah, I saw it in Georgia." But the listeners would talk about trying to shoo these birds across the state line so they could say it's officially in the other state. A rare opportunity.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, all the stuff that is going on right now. And let's talk about those drunk cedar waxwings.
Yeah. Cedar waxwings are the ones that are most noticed for this. They eat a lot of berries on the ground and in the trees. And a lot of other birds eat a lot of fruit on the ground. Sometimes this fruit may have been sitting a little too long and has gained some alcohol content due fermentation. The birds don't know, or maybe they even like it better, who knows. But after a while, people will find them on the ground, unable to fly. And they'll report, say, "Oh, I've got a bunch of poisoned birds." That happens a great deal of the time. Somebody's poisoned my birds. So there'll be 5 or 10 or 15 birds of some type wobbling around on the ground, unable to stand up or be coherent in a way. So they're going to be fine.
What do you do? Just leave them there and let them sleep it off?
You got to let them walk it off. They can't fly, so they got to walk it off.
Yeah.
And they'll be fine later, as soon as they sober up. But we hear reports of this. It's every year. It's not terribly uncommon in a lot of areas. So
you know what? It is the most beautiful sight to see. Like all the cedar waxwings, they'll just come in and all get in a tree together and. They are just, I love the way they look like they got that little mask on, too. They're ready for Halloween.
There's several types of them in the United States. Yeah. And they are. And they're interesting to watch because they tend to hang together and they all go to one bush or tree, a group of them where there's berries. We have some holly trees that we planted down the side of the yard just for that reason. And we can expect them at some time of the year, just about now. There are going to be hordes of them come in and just camp out for 3 or 4 days, and pretty much after that, there's no berries left on the tree.
So this is the end of berries, pretty much. Is this the time when they get fermented because maybe they've been on the vine so long?
If they make it that long and they hang out too long, it could be a lot of different types of berries, not just holly berries and things like that. So these come at different times of the season. Some of them are a little later in the year, but if they hang out there and they get spoiled, there'll be some alcohol generated. And the
Yeah.
birds don't know 'em, don't care.
Yeah.
They're fine eating the food. They just sometimes get a little tipsy and
Yeah.
can't fly.
Well, we want to welcome Alex Mitchell, Tim Browning, and Linda Thomas. They are all
Welcome.
watching. Those are the names that
Great.
we've seen. Please drop us a note and tell us hi or tell us where you're watching from. And then also, and there may be others watching that it's not telling me, but you'll see me look down every once in a while at that. We do want you to ask any questions that you have, and let's go to our question. Remember the question? It was about, how to get a bird out of your house.
Yeah, we get calls about this a lot, and it can be anything from a hummingbird to a wren to a blue jay that gets trapped in a house. Most of the birds aren't too hard to get out. You open the doors, open your sliding glass doors, open the big stuff, maybe try to shoo it that away, get a little towel and flip it at them. Just try to scare them over toward the windows. They usually will get out the window or get out a big open door. Hummingbirds are particularly problematic because they don't seem to understand going straight out of something. They go up to get out of anything for some reason. I've seen them right above a doorway where you got 2.5 foot before you hit the ceiling, and they're up there and won't come down and go out the door.
I know, it's so hard. This happened, I was
So,
telling you,
yeah.
at a hair salon of mine, and we got a broom and just
Yeah.
kept pushing it toward the
Yeah.
door. And it did. It finally went out.
Yeah.
And then, so
It's you
so
can take
frustrating. It's so
a towel. It was just mentioned a
upsetting.
few minutes ago, and
Yeah.
just try to smother them with that, and don't squash them. You
No,
don't
of
have to worry
course.
about it. They're all pretty tough. But get that over the bird and get it to come down to the ground so you can get it under the towel and just pick it up and take it outside.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, if you're in a big open area, you might just have to throw little bitty things up to spook it, like an empty cup or some plastic cup that makes
Yeah.
noise, and make it go back and forth a few times. And you'll get some exercise, and finally it'll get really tired, it'll come and hit the wall, can't hang on to something, it'll probably drop down to the ground. Then you can throw a little rag or towel over it, pick it up and take it out.
It's
hard.
terrified.
Yeah. And hummingbirds might have to take them out that way most of the time, but you could also try hanging a feeder, hummingbird feeder, in your doorway, partial way down, so they might come to that once they get thirsty, and then go out from there.
Yeah.
But it's not likely they're going to fly right out the door without something like that going on. It's
Right.
just
I
why
called
don't know.
Richard.
Yeah.
I called Richard one time. It happened to me. A house wren was in my house, 2-story great room. I was scared to death that it would never, because it keeps going to the window, the closed window that's 2 stories high, and I couldn't get it out. But you talked me through it, and we finally got it out. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a question from Tony Rosas. He says,
Hi, Tony.
Hi, Tony. I saw a bluebird on my feeder, but I thought they only ate insects. Is it eating the seed?
Thank goodness, yes. The 25 years ago, 30 years ago, you would say, no, bluebirds don't eat. They don't come to feeders.
And they didn't,
They
right?
didn't. There was no reason to, because there was
amazing.
nothing for them to eat there.
Yeah.
And they ate berries and they ate insects. And then along came coals. And
Thank goodness.
we developed a food that a lot of birds will eat, including bluebirds, because our sunflower meats and special feeder blends, and that have so many, a great portion of those feeds have pure sunflower meats, no shell, and it becomes an insect substitute that these birds can easily eat. They have caught on. It's been amazing to see how many bluebirds have come to feeders now in areas where we've been feeding. It's quite a common sight. Our bluebirds have a feeder. They have a house over here in the yard. They come around the corner, hop on the feeder, eat sun meats, and go back. That wouldn't have happened 30 years ago. They didn't
It's
do that.
amazing, isn't it? They've
And now it's quite
adapted their
common.
behavior.
Yes.
to our
And there were
changes.
sun meats right there on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have adapted.
love 'em.
Birds are very adaptive critters.
Yeah, the sunflower meats, they love these. They
Yes.
love the mealworms. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can get, right? For
You
them.
get a lot of the birds who typically don't eat seeds because they can't open them,
Yeah.
or they're too hard. They don't have the type of bills made to crack shells. Wren's a good example. Wrens will come and eat the mealworms. They'll eat little suet kibbles. They'll eat suet, and they'll eat sunflower meats because they're just as soft and very nutritious.
Yeah.
A high energy snack for these birds. So
Yeah, definitely. We put out some bluebird nesting boxes a few years ago. It took a little while. Bluebirds are really cautious and
Yeah.
took your advice about the type of nesting boxes, make sure they're far away from everything. They wouldn't come to the one that was close to the feeder.
Yeah.
Because
That
they didn't
makes
want all
sense.
that.
Yes.
But they are amazing, and we just kept putting out the food that you always talk about, and nothing is more beautiful than becoming a parent. The bluebirds came, had their little nest, take their babies over to the feeders, and everybody's happy. It was really amazing to see.
Yeah, that whole process is nice to watch, especially if you have children and you can let them watch this process.
Yeah.
And you can monitor the nest box. There's ways to do that.
Yeah.
And let everybody participate in seeing these birds raise their young and depart.
Yeah.
And come back, do it again.
They're a little bit better than humans are at that, aren't they?
They're a lot better than humans. Yeah, maybe.
Birds are harsh. They're like, kick out. Like, get out of that nest now. Sink or swim.
You don't see the older birds hanging around the homestead. No,
No, you don't. They don't allow it. But let's talk about two, and I'll take this, but I want to let you all know that Kohl's is actually hiring a graphic designer and a social media person. So all you have to do is go to kohlswildbird.com, go to the Contact Us page, and fill in everything. And then you can go see what's right on your screen. Just use that. And then upload your resume right there where it says choose file. So
Great.
we make it easy for you to do. And, we know that a lot of you who watch this and are fans and are really bird lovers, we'd love that.
Yeah.
That would be the best case scenario, is to find somebody who really knows birds or loves birds and has a passion for what we do. It's not required, but it would be nice, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we know that some of you who are watching today may know somebody in that category, and so we'd love for you to go ahead and apply. All right, Richard, anything else? We know we got to clean those nest boxes.
Yes.
We know that even the woodpeckers are pecking again because they think that
That'll
it's spring.
slow down really soon. Yeah,
Right.
They'll get the hint when the cold weather sets in. But yeah, the nest boxes, just make sure it's cleaned out after the birds have nested and there's droppings inside. Clean it out. Maybe put some fresh stuff in the bottom, some pine straw, or a little bit of leaves from. They'll come in and seek shelter in the wintertime sometimes. They don't live in birdhouses, but they may seek some shelter in a really cold night. So especially bluebirds are good at this. Sometimes multiple 5 or 6 or 7 bluebirds will pile in one box. So
Yeah.
keep them out, and then it's ready for the spring. You just dump out what's in there and get it ready let them build a nest again.
Yeah, so we're winding it down. So this is your last chance to ask that question or to, make a comment, anything that you want to do. Maybe you've tried Kohl's, maybe you really like Kohl's and you want to just say, hey, I like this type of food, or tell us a success story. But we also do want, I forgot about this, but I want to remind everybody that we really like to have fall pictures for that calendar. Every year we do a calendar, and we love to reflect the seasons. Fall and winter are some of the most difficult ones. We get tons of spring and summer.
Yes.
But please, it's a little early to, you can't submit yet, but you can go ahead and start taking your pictures. And, we love the pictures to really represent the seasons. So fall is beautiful. It allows for so many great backgrounds and that kind of thing. So we really want you to take part in the contest and go ahead and start taking those pictures and everything.
And the Kohl's calendar has become quite a thing. It's very professionally done calendar. It's almost like getting your picture on the cover of Rolling Stone, and the old song there. You get your picture in the Kohl's calendar if you send it in. And we have more trouble getting, like you said, the fall and winter shots than we do the spring and summer shots. So,
and I could just look at these. I know we've got these rolling, and I'm not going to stop this, so we're going to go ahead and take. Oh my gosh, I love that. Those babies feeding, you can't beat it. There's always a great picture of a bluebird every time. Love that. But we have so many beautiful pictures, and you guys have done an amazing job.
it's
I
our
love that one
customers who
too.
send these in.
Yeah.
A lot of these are not professional photographs. They're good, but they're not professional photographs.
But they are
They're
so nice.
Yes.
Yeah. They might as well be. Okay, so we've given everyone a chance to ask those birding questions. I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you have any questions for our resident expert? And all I'm doing is trying to refresh this to see if we have any new comments or any new questions. And I think we're good. We want to thank Karen and Nancy for watching as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Alex, so thanks to everyone who watched today. I hope you'll share this out on your Facebook page so that we can get more people watching and asking questions of such a great birding expert. Oh, you want to mention the book too, right? Didn't you want to mention your book?
Oh, yeah, we'll put a book plug
Yeah,
in? Sure.
sure.
I have a book out, autobiography. It's called Distant Secrets. And it's available. You can look at I think there's one other Distant Secrets out there, but that's the one you'll be looking at. I'll be on the cover. Not that you'll be able to tell who I am. You see my back of my head.
I think I can tell it too.
But it's getting some really good reviews.
Good.
And it's about the birdseed business and about getting started and the rest of my life, which has been somewhat interesting.
You
There
are
you go.
nothing if not interested. You will not be bored by this. Richard has led a colorful and really accomplished life. I mean, you have,
thank you.
yeah, and you've seen life from a lot of different perspectives, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm still here.
Yep. And still such an expert on everything that has to do with birds. So thanks for joining us today. And Richard is here every first Wednesday of the month at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And we'd love for you to send in your questions early. I thought the question today about
Yeah.
getting a bird out of your house was
Yeah, we haven't talked about that in a long time.
Yeah, incredibly helpful. When it does happen to you, it is so incredibly scary. So just wanted to see if there's any more questions. I didn't see any more. Anything else you want to say?
I could get started and not stop.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. And we'll see you on, okay, so today's December. Yeah, the first Wednesday of the month at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And we'll see you then.
See y'all. Thank you. Hello, this is Richard Cole. I want to thank each of you for watching, and I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share it.